Carl and Louis here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for sure. And it's 10 things time, 10 things we love about the Rec movie series. That is 4 movies, Rec 1, 2, 3, Genesis, and 4, Apocalypse. Go check out the in-depth review we did of the entire franchise. You want a lot more detail. This is specific. 10 things I love, 10 things you love. And of course, 10 things we hate at a later date. But for now, we're focusing on the positive of this movie and movies. And there is a lot. And I'm going to get us started with a really easy one. No bad films out of 4. Each one offers something different or interesting. Yeah. There is no bad movies. There are better movies, but none of them are bad. None of them make you go, fuck, that was shit. Not at all. 4 good to great horror movies.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. All right, so mine's very similar. My first love. Gave me found footage films I enjoyed. As I say, it's been a long slog of films, all similar veins, and we found this tape, and this is the footage that we found, and actually these come out with something completely, like you said, new ideas. Yep. Yeah.
I mean, we double up there. You go into my next one, and for me, this is the best example of found footage horror, using the tropes to its strengths instead, and keeping it clever for the most part, whether it be the variation in camera styles, the whys, the hows, the reasoning behind everything. That doesn't perhaps work later in, say, 4.
Yeah.
But look at number 3 and the smartness there when they stuck it. The creators had stuck themselves in a corner where they couldn't make a good reason to do found footage, so didn't. Yeah. You know, easy.
I put minimal found footage tropes, but it's kind of linked to what you said. So that the more like the negative ones that I don't appreciate. They've either left off or done in a good way.
Yeah, when you think of certain tropes, for example, always carrying a camera, here there is good reasons for it. It's a documentary crew in the first one, in the second it's to do with the police having their own cameras for documentation, and then some kids who have sneaked in to try and find out what's going on, to later on in the first film when it's used for light reasons, night vision, because you cannot see. These are aspects that work. In the third film, the beginning part is it's documenting a fucking wedding.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
The fourth film, there's a little bit dispute in that but it's not used as much. It tends to be CCTV, and then there's next to no found footage anymore either. So that I mean, it's tropes that are done minimally. Yeah. Genuinely, it has some terrifying moments. These are horror movies that actually have some scary moments. In particular, the first and the third film, I think those two are the strongest for your scares. In particular, whether it be zombies looking up the stairs, whether it be the pace and the energy to it, but whether it be in the third film, a certain sequence of events with a pure scale of them smashing through the windows when the wedding falls apart. Aspects like that are excellent. I think it's got some generally terrifying moments.
Yeah. I linked into that. I put the gore and the speed of the infected. It made the peril seem so much more realistic. So that's what I appreciate about it. Yeah,
we kind of double up. I've got zombie makeup and the gore across all the films. It looks amazing. These are great looking zombies. The makeup, it's bloody when it wants to be. It's violent and gory when it needs to be. It looks the part. It doesn't necessarily look like zombies in the conventional sense. We are talking about an infection / possession. And how that works is really, really good. It's nothing spectacularly unique.
No.
In regards to look, but it does really get across the idea that your body has transformed.
Yeah, I like the idea of that.
That's no bad thing.
Yeah. So allowing character development by having like films linked. So obviously there's a link that goes through all the films. The third one not as strong, but it happens in the same time frame, so it is all linked in the same universe. So it's not like it happens somewhere it's not linked.
Yep.
Yeah. I said that we did the Andy from Parks and Rec face when you see the uncle with the bitten hand, and that realisation, like,
yeah,
kind of think, oh shit, this is linked. What's going to go down? And you already know that it's going to go downhill, which is like a really, really nice element of linking the films.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to talk about it specifically then in my next one. And I described it almost like a cold feeling, like an icicle dropping down your neck when you get a minor hint towards the first film that comes in the third film, which is, of course, the uncle having been bitten by a dog at the veterinary place he worked. And that moment, and it's just like I say, a little drip that hits the back of your neck, and you're like, oh
it's not gonna go
fuck.
Well. Yeah.
You know something's going to happen because it's a horror movie, it's Rec 3, but like that, you're like, oh.
It's going to escalate quickly.
Oh, yeah, that's your moment. So yeah, I mean, I had to include that. It's one of my favourite moments in the series.
I think my next one linked into that. I felt really sad for the characters in Rec 3 and the carnage that the day turns into. Like, they do enough. They don't over prolong it, but the amount of time they spend setting up this nice wedding, and you've been to weddings, you know that kind of vibe, and yeah, you really feel for the characters, which I think is testament to the film.
Yeah, I mean, go watch our in-depth and see the part where we talk about Rec 3 Genesis, because I'm going to link that into this one. The third film, Rec 3 Genesis. Wonderful story, great acting, cleverly shot, moving from found footage to proper filming. Characters that I think they're the most lovable, likable characters of all. The first portion of the movie, the found footage segment, is so real.
Yeah.
So real that you literally will be enthralled by the realism of it and that horrible feeling when things are going to go wrong, when it does. The transition from found footage to proper filming is one of the most cleverly written things I'd seen in a long time. How it's done, it excited me. And the story of two star-crossed lovers basically trying to find each other across a zombie apocalypse sounds like it shouldn't be that good. It is. It really is. Clara and Koldo, the two characters, you root for them. You want them to get out of this alive.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I've got one link to that. So I think we double up on quite a lot. We're both big fans.
Yeah.
So I just put great acting just across the whole series, especially when the tension escalates. It's quite hard. I think that's the hardest thing for actors to portray is panic and still get your lines across.
Yeah.
Because you want to be frantic and scared, but you've also got to get your lines across, which I feel like when we watch films that are just stinkers, they don't react enough, and you're like, someone's just been murdered, and you're just coming like, hi guys, what's going on? And it takes you away from it. You're like, this is a film rather than a real life documentary, if you're going to put that on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
Found footage often makes that mistake. It's one of the biggest flaws in the style, which is it says to you, hey, this is a real event, and then doesn't do real things. And you're like, okay, which is it, guys? Oh, you know, I've no problem with it being a movie, but you're trying to pretend to me it's a real event. There's your problem. Yeah. You know, that's not the case with Rec. You often feel very much like it is real events. And part of that, linking into this one, part of that is the setup for the very first film, which is the late night TV show that leads to the trip to the apartment. And I think it's incredibly clever and very believable. Yeah. You know, it's a documentary being shot. They do these late night things where they go around with public services. Tonight it just happens to be with a fire crew. And you get some build up and characters there as we learn that it really isn't that interesting. They get called to the apartment block to help a potentially hurt old lady, and the rest is history. Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I say it seems like Angela's trying to get promotion, get further ahead, and you've got to do like the grunt work.
The grunt work, yeah.
To get better promotions and stuff. So yeah, I really appreciate that. I've put the films. Next one's kind of the films demonstrate that humans in crisis can be just as scary as an infection breaking out.
Okay.
So when they start bickering and infighting and stuff like that, that's when you get. See what I mean?
No, I do see what you mean. Some of the best horror involves that level of human desperation, betrayal, heroicness and stuff like that. It can be incredible stuff. That's horror 101.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes the human villains are often worse. You know, horror has always done that a lot. Look at Aliens. Look at Burke. You know, as a character, as a human character who's arguably worse than the fucking alien creatures that are attacking. You know, and stuff like that. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing specific. You haven't got like a overarching human villain in the Rec stuff.
No.
But some of the behaviours and actions and stuff like that, whether it be cowardly, you know, yeah. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Sticking with the first film, one of the things I love, and what part of the reason why the film is such a high tempo offering, is when the outbreak really comes to fruition, it doesn't stop. It goes poof, bang, 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 and it is fast, it's quick, as it should be. Racing infected inside an apartment block shouldn't be slow. Yeah. That has to be, I mean, there's nowhere to go, there's nowhere to hide, it has to be frantic and fast. It only slows down again when we get to the finale, which is inside the penthouse. But there's a segment in that series, in that part when they're first breaking out of the textile workshop, from that to the end sequence, it doesn't fucking stop.
Yeah.
And that is, it reminds me of 28 Days Later and stuff like that. Yeah. When shit kicks off, it is frantic, as it should be.
Yeah, you don't give people a chance to kind of like make a plan. Because
they don't get time to breathe.
Yeah.
We don't get time to breathe.
Yeah, which is, I really appreciate that. Yeah. A specific moment that I really appreciated was the prayer over the tannoy system in Rec 3.
Yep.
And the granddad not being able to hear because he didn't have his hearing aid in, which was referred to, another thing that when they kind of dropped little points in early. So granddad was like, oh, granddad, turn your hearing aid on. And then when you go to later, you realise he's not turned it on and he can't hear the prayer that controls all the infected. So he bites the girl. I thought it was really clever.
It is. It's so clever that I have it as well.
Yeah.
At the end of Rec 3, you're kind of thinking like, how, you know, it looks like the resolution, they might actually get this one alive. They're leaving throughout the garden. It's morning now. And They're moving through the garden. Everyone, all the zombies, the infected, the possessed are frozen by this prayer of the tannoy. As you say, it was such a subtle thing dropped in early on to do with an elderly granddad in a wheelchair who hadn't turned his hearing aid on, and he bites Clara.
Yeah.
And that leads us to, obviously, the heartbreaking but very, very well done finale.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I had it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. I like when we kind of double off things.
Got one more?
I've got one more.
Yep.
Watching them as a series is still really enjoyable. Not all films are as strong as each other, but they will have a different, like you said, probably linking back to what you said, a different chapter.
Yep.
So watching them all in one was like, oh, this is quite good. And some films you kind of think, oh, God, I've still got it's a slog. Whereas this one, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to end in my last one of the video with the time frame. And it's that wonderful moment when you realise that these films take place over a very short amount of time. Rec 1 and Rec 2 take place in the exact same night.
Yep.
Rec 2 picks up directly after the event, so it's all the exact same night. Rec 3 begins the day before, the day of Rec 1, but earlier in the day, because the wedding. Because Rec 1 takes place in night. Rec 2 follows that, so to the early hours of the morning.
Yep.
Rec 3 begins earlier that day and ends the next morning.
Yep.
So 3 films take place over less than 24 hours. Rec 4 stretches by going a few weeks later and that front. But even still, that's a very short amount of time. But the idea that 3 movies taking place in less than 24 hours.
Yeah.
And just,
impressive.
I just love that. I love that. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, we could have done more. I feel like we could have done more, you know, on this. I just changed. Actually, it wasn't my original last one. I had a different last one, you know, so I might as well quickly throw that now as an extra one, which was if it's a strong enough franchise, if they ever decided to revisit it in the future, I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't necessarily be against them going, okay, look, we're going to do a new Rec movie. I might be like, yeah, okay, let's see what you've learnt.
Yeah, I'll be
let's see
up
what
for
you've learnt. Yeah, absolutely. There you go, though. 10 things we love about the Rec movie series. Let us know some of yours in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/gbhbl as well as Big Cartel where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?